In this lesson, we're going to talk about a bevel that transitions from a very tight edge to a very open, smooth edge. Here's our example that we're going to do, and you can see that it's a fairly organic shape. Kind of sweeps in an S in this direction. And you can see that we've got a very tight bevel over here and here, but it smooths out over in this area right here. And what this is going to introduce is sometimes things just need to be done manually. There's no magical formula or tool that's going to do this stuff for you. But the whole name of the game in order to doing this correctly is to keep your geometry very, very low. If we get a ton of geometry in here, it's going to be very difficult for us to control this transition from the tight to the very wide, smooth bevel on here. Alright, so we'll take this and let's go ahead and do a split on there. And we'll go over here to split type and we'll change this to multi. And then we're going to grab this one. I'm going to hit the G key to do that again. And I'll change this to multi as well. Alright, so what we have here is we have three faces that's going to be this bottom plane. So these three faces will be the bottom. These three faces are going to be the top, and these three faces will be all of this transition information. So what we need to do is we need to grab this edge, and I'm going to get it flowing in this direction, and then I'll just snap it to that point right there. I'll grab this one and do the same. I'll snap it to right there. Alright, now we can go ahead and grab these three faces, get those moving up, and I can snap those to this point right there. So there already is the basic shape of what we want to create. So pretty easy if you break it down into just very simple polygons. And the bottom line is if I hit 3 on this, you can see that these curves are very, very nice. They're really smooth. And we don't have to worry about anything pinching or really adjusting all this information with too much in there. If we had a lot of splits going this direction, this really smooth curve would be very difficult to get. So you want to make sure, again, that you have just the least amount of geometry possible in here. Alright, so let's get our bevel on this. Let's grab these two edges. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the smallest bevel because it's going to be the hardest one to get. I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, into Edge, and we're going to bevel those. So under here, we're going to change the segments to 2, and we'll do the fraction to about 0.1. That gives us a nice tight bevel over here. Now if I hit the 3 key, you're going to notice that we do have those extra faces in there. So we'll click on those and delete them. And you can see now that we have a very tight bevel across the entire surface. So this is where it comes in really handy with having a very, very minimal amount of geometry to accomplish this. Again, you know, we talked about getting this curve smooth with a lot of geometry would be tough, but it would be even tougher to do the transition on the bevel on this. So this is pretty simple. All we need to do is just loosen the tension on these edges right here. So I can pull that one over. I'll grab this one and I'll pull that over. Okay, and then I can grab these ones and I can do basically the same thing. Now there's a couple of different methods that we can go about doing this. One of these would be adjusting the pivot point on this. So just to make it easier, I think I'll grab these two vertices and I'm going to hit the insert key and I'm going to put that right on that one right there. And I'll hit insert again. Now you'll notice that if I click off of this and I grab these again, then I lose that pivot point. So you want to make sure that you're not getting rid of that. So I'll hit insert again and I'll snap it to that point. Hit insert to go out of there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve snap. So I'm going to hold the C key down and I'm going to middle mouse drag somewhere on this curve. And you can see that what happens is the points actually snap to each other right to that curve. So there's one more setting that we need to adjust here, and that's going to be under the options for the move itself. So to get to those options, you can go up to Modify Transformation Tools and then go into the option box for it right there. But a much easier way to do it is just to hold down the W key, which is the keyboard shortcut for move, and I'll just click and hold with my left mouse button in here. And this brings up a marking menu that we can tell it to keep the spacing. So right there, when it pulled this point into there, that was not keeping the spacing for us. All right, so we'll click on those 2 points again. Once again, we'll hit Insert, pull this over to where we need it. I'll hit Insert again, and now I'm going to hold down the C key, and I'm going to middle mouse drag, and you can see that this time it keeps the spacing on those. So we'll kind of put that right about there. We're going to divide this overall space into thirds maybe. All right, so we'll go about there. And then we can grab this one, we can grab this one. We'll hit Insert, and we'll move our pivot point to that one now. And now this time, we're going to adjust this one. Same basic idea. We'll try to keep an even distance there. Now, if you want a nice even bevel on these, you can now go in and adjust these a little bit so they kind of match the same distance that you have on all of those. So a little bit more of a manual approach to this, but it does actually work very well. And again, the whole key to this is making sure that you have a very small amount of geometry. I mean, just seeing what we just did, imagine trying to do that with a ton of geometry. You'd have to go in and, maybe pull this one back and pull this one over just to kind of compensate for the transition through there. Where here it was very, very easy to do, and everything came out nice and even. All right, so there's a look at how we can put a bevel on an object and actually have it transition from a very tight bevel to a very wide, smooth bevel. See you in the next lesson.